There's a detail no one has told you about Taurus angels. Everyone points to protection, to luck, to this reputation of being a sign that always lands on its feet. But no one asks what exactly is holding that ground up beneath them in those moments when they swear with all the conviction in the world that they are alone. There are three presences, not decoration, not a poster design. One sustains the structure, and it's the same one that tests whether it can hold. Another guards the beauty he fears losing without ever promising that it will stay. And the third holds, in a corner he hasn't yet dared to open, an abundance he pursues outside without knowing it already lives within him. What if I told you that the name of each of these presences explains exactly why Taurus freezes up just when it's time to ask for help? Stay until the end, because the third angel is the one no one expects, and the one that hurts the most to acknowledge. The first name that tradition preserves is Asmodel. It is said that he is the one who sustains the root, who ensures that even when everything around shakes, there is a fixed point where Taurus can lean on. It is not luck. It is a kind of invisible hand holding the foundation while Taurus builds, slowly, stubbornly, what he intends to last forever. But here's the first problem. The same hand that supports is also the one that tests, because there is no strong root without first being shaken. And that's exactly what Asmodel provokes, without warning. The second name is Haniel. While Asmodel holds the structure together, Haniel takes care of something Taurus hides even from himself: the beauty he fears losing. Because behind all this reputation for stability, there is an ancient, almost silent fear that the beauty of life, the body, pleasure, comfort, the love felt through the skin, is too fleeting to be trusted. Haniel enters precisely there, not to promise that nothing will change, but to teach with a patience that only someone who has lost something beautiful can possess. That beauty can be felt even knowing that it won't last. Have you ever noticed how Taurus clings more strongly to what it feels might slip away? This is no coincidence. It's the mark of a silent protective instinct, trying to soften the impact of a truth no one wants to hear. Nothing, not even the firmest ground, remains exactly the same forever. And then comes the third. Sashiel, what many call the guardian of true abundance, not the abundance measured in possessions, in saved accounts, in a full cupboard. The abundance that Taurus feels when, for a rare moment, he stops calculating what he might lose and simply allows himself to receive. Sashiel is the one who whispers, very softly, that the abundance that Taurus so desperately seeks outside has long resided in some corner that he hasn't yet dared to open. Three presences, three roles. One question lingers. Why does someone who carries so much protection still feel, most of the time, so alone when they need to ask for help? Perhaps the answer lies hidden in the way Taurus learned, too early on, to confuse protection with self-sufficiency. As if needing someone, even an invisible presence, were a crack in the earth he spent his entire life compacting beneath his own feet. And what if these three presences aren't there merely to shield Taurus from the outside world, but to gradually dismantle this shield he himself built against his own cry for help, as if each of them were waiting for the exact moment when he finally stopped pretending he could handle it alone, to then reveal what he had really been hiding all this time? Perhaps the most uncomfortable answer is this: asking for help isn't a crack in the ground. It's the only way for the ground to remain fertile. It was in seeking answers to these reflections that the digital book, The Divine Wisdom That Guides Your Zodiac Sign to a Purposeful Life, was born. More than just a simple read, it brings together teachings, interpretations, and exercises to help you understand patterns, develop a more conscious attitude, and cultivate a stronger mindset in the face of difficulties. Many people have already begun this journey of self-discovery and found a new way to look at their own patterns of protection and fear. Now it's your turn. Access to the digital book is available in the first pinned comment. If you've made it this far feeling that something inside you recognized these three presences, it's because a part of you already knew this. It just didn't have a name for it. This discomfort that's still alive now, this desire to understand why it's so difficult to ask for help, is exactly the sign that this is the right moment, not in a week, not when there's time. The link is in the first pinned comment. But be aware, this content may be taken down. Click now and download your copy. Until that happens, tell me in the comments, which of these three presences do you feel you most need to awaken within yourself right now? The one that sustains, the one that embraces beauty, or the one that creates space for abundance? There's a scene that repeats itself in the life of almost every Taurus, and they rarely notice the pattern while it's happening. It's the moment when everything seemed solid, the job, the house, the relationship, the body they cared for so diligently, and suddenly something cracks. It doesn't crumble all at once. It cracks slowly in the way Taurus understands best, little by little, silently, almost begging to be ignored. It is precisely at this moment that Asmodel acts according to tradition, not to prevent the crack, to ensure that when it appears, there is a base capable of withstanding the tremor without breaking completely. But here lies Taurus's first great mistake. He confuses the presence of this base with the absence of pain. He thinks that if something inside him is firm, then it shouldn't hurt so much when things change. But it hurts. And the reason it hurts so much is precisely the reason he builds everything so slowly, so meticulously, almost earthquake-proof. Because deep down he knows that rebuilding comes at an emotional price he prefers never to pay twice. Notice how this manifests in small, everyday things. In the way he takes months, sometimes years, to make a decision that someone else would make in an afternoon, not because he's indecisive, but because each choice, for Taurus, is a brick he doesn't want to have to remove later. In the way he prefers to stay in an uncomfortable job, in a routine that no longer makes sense, rather than risk a fresh start that could go wrong. This isn't complacency, as so many outsiders label it. It's the same protective root trying in its own way to prevent him from feeling again that tremor that once, long ago, almost completely brought him down. There's an almost invisible scene within every Taurus. The instant they feel genuine pleasure, whether in a gesture, a smell, food, a touch, and immediately, without realizing it, a part of them is already calculating how long it will last. That's where Haniel comes in, trying to do what seems impossible, teach Taurus to feel without timing it. Have you ever noticed how he saves the good things for when he truly deserves them? The beautiful dishes that never leave the cupboard, the special outfit that hangs there waiting for an occasion that never comes. That's not saving money, it's fear disguised as prudence, a way of postponing pleasure so as not to have to feel the emptiness when it's gone. Haniel doesn't promise that beauty will last forever. He promises something stranger and more difficult, that it can be whole, even if brief. And it is precisely this lesson that Taurus resists accepting, because for him, what doesn't last forever seems, in some way, not to have been worthwhile. And there's a curious detail in all this. Those who observe Taurus from the outside often think he's too sensory, too attached to material comfort. But in reality, it's the opposite. He distrusts his own pleasure so much that he needs to prove, through objects, routines, and repeated rituals, that it's safe to allow himself to feel. The soft bed, the well-prepared dinner, the familiar smell of home, all of this isn't luxury. It's anchoring. It's the way he's found to feel pleasure without completely losing himself in the vulnerability of feeling. And here comes a truth that is more unsettling than it seems at first glance. Taurus only truly trusts what they can touch. Not out of superficiality, as so many people think, but because, at some point in their lives, an abstract promise failed, a word was not kept, a "trust me" turned into disappointment. And since then, the body has become the only territory where they feel safe from being deceived. That's why he hoards objects, hoards food, hoards money, even hoards grudges, as if each accumulated item were physical proof that he exists, that he succeeded, that this time no one will be able to take what is his from him. But what no one tells Taurus is that there is a huge difference between accumulating proof that you are secure and actually being secure inside. The first is survival. The second is true confidence, and most Tauruses live their entire lives within the first, believing they have already achieved the second. That's why, even surrounded by visible stability, many Tauruses continue to have that unsettling feeling that at any moment everything could crumble. It's not a lack of gratitude. It's that the security they've built still resides in their bodies, in their possessions, in what they can count on, and not in the deeper place where it needs to be to stop hurting. If you are a Taurus or love someone who is, you may have already felt the difference between accumulating security and feeling true security firsthand without needing to prove anything to anyone. That's exactly what the digital book, The Divine Wisdom that guides your zodiac sign to a purposeful life, is about. It brings together teachings and exercises to help you recognize when you are merely surviving within your comfort zone and not truly living in it. This material is available for a limited time, and the last digital copies available at this price are selling out fast. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. Sashiel works differently from the other two. He doesn't hold on or caress. He creates space. And creating space for Taurus is almost an exercise against his own nature, because everything in him has been trained to close his hands, to guard, to retain, to ensure that nothing escapes. Consider this. How many times have you seen a Taurus refuse help even when they need it, refuse a gift even when they want it, refuse rest even when exhausted, simply because receiving it seemed in some strange way like a debt they would have to repay later? This is the most silent mark of misunderstood abundance. They even have resources, affection, and support available around them. What's lacking isn't abundance out there. It's permission to receive it without feeling like they need to earn every drop beforehand. Sashiel whispers unhurriedly the same phrase he's been repeating for years. You are already enough before you even produce any proof of it. It's not an easy phrase to believe for someone who grew up associating value with productivity, visible effort, and concrete results. But it's precisely because it's difficult that it carries so much weight. Because the day Taurus manages to truly receive it, without suspicion, without feeling the need to reciprocate immediately, is the day abundance ceases to be a distant destination and finally becomes a place to dwell. There's a common scene that illustrates this well. Someone offers help to a Taurus in difficulty, and the first, almost automatic reaction is to refuse, even if they need it, even if they secretly want to accept. Not because they don't trust the person, because accepting would mean admitting that for a moment they couldn't handle it alone. And that is, perhaps, the most unfair yardstick Taurus applies to themselves, measuring their own worth by the amount of weight they can carry without anyone's help. And this is where things get uncomfortable in an almost personal way, because the more Taurus accumulates to feel secure, the more they discover, without admitting it aloud, that security never truly arrives. There's always something missing. A little more money saved, a little more stability in the relationship, a little more control over what could go wrong. This is the paradox that Taurus's own nature hides from itself. It builds possessions to avoid feeling fear, but the more it possesses, the more it has to lose, and the more fear grows along with its wealth. The abundance it pursues outside will never fill the void that exists only because it never learned to trust something it cannot count on, weigh, or keep in a drawer. It's curious to notice that this same pattern appears disguised as a virtue. Taurus is praised for being responsible, for being provident, for never letting those they love lack anything. And they are, in fact, all of that. But nobody asks what it costs, internally, to always live one step ahead of fear, calculating scenarios of loss before they even happen. This constant vigilance is exhausting in a way that doesn't show on the outside, because Taurus has made it such an old habit that they no longer recognize it as tiredness, only as a way of being. The unsettling question that lingers is this: what would happen if Taurus stopped trying to possess security and began, even with fear, to practice it? This question is precisely the starting point of the digital book, The Divine Wisdom That Guides Your Zodiac Sign to a Purposeful Life, which offers reflections and practical exercises designed for those who feel they already have a lot, but still have the feeling that it's never enough. It's a turning point, moving from accumulating to trusting. Access is available for a limited time in the first pinned comment, and interest has been so great that the digital copies under this special offer are practically sold out. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. There's a phrase that many Tauruses repeat without realizing how much it hurts: I can handle it. And they almost always can. The problem isn't their ability, it's the hidden cost of never letting anyone, not even those 3 people who walk with them, share the burden. Because for Taurus, asking for help often doesn't seem like an act of courage. It seems like a confession of weakness, a public crack in that image of solidity that took years to build. And if someone ever told them, directly or indirectly, that needing others was a source of shame, that phrase got stuck somewhere in their body and became a rule of life. But there is a huge difference between giving up on yourself and allowing yourself to be helped. The first is abandonment. The second is the opposite. It is recognizing that no root, however deep, grows in isolation from the surrounding earth. Asmodel, Haniel, and Sashiel don't exist to prove that Taurus needs them. They exist to remind us that needing is not the same as faltering. Think about the last time you, being a Taurus or observing one closely, suffered in silence something that could have been easier if shared with someone. Not for lack of people willing to help, for lack of internal permission to let that help in. It's almost as if there's a reinforced door guarding the most tired part of them, and the key to that door, ironically, only works from the inside out. If this confusion between asking for help and giving up has ever been part of your story, the digital book, The Divine Wisdom That Guides Your Zodiac Sign to a Purposeful Life, was designed precisely for this kind of recognition, offering teachings that help disarm this old guilt and build a gentler relationship with your own vulnerability. Many people who have felt trapped in this same pattern have found a real turning point in this content. Access is currently available, but for a limited time. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. And perhaps that's what these 3 presences have always been trying to teach, each in their own way. Asmodel shows that the firmest root is not the one that never trembles, but the one that accepts trembling without breaking. Haniel shows that the truest beauty is not the one that lasts forever, but the one that allows itself to feel whole, even knowing that it will pass. And Sashiel shows that true abundance has never been hidden in some distant place that needed to be conquered. It has always been there, waiting for permission to be received. Perhaps the deepest protection that Taurus carries is not that of never needing anyone, but that of gradually learning that needing is also a form of strength. That the most fertile land is not the one that closes itself off to keep everything, but the one that opens itself from time to time to let something new grow within it. If you've made it this far, perhaps a part of you has already recognized these three presences walking beside you, even on the days when you swore you were alone in carrying everything. They don't ask you to stop being who you are. They only ask that you remember that even the firmest ground needs, from time to time, to be watered by hands that aren't your own. There is no weakness in this. In fact, there is an ancient wisdom that the world's haste insists on hiding, that Taurus's true strength has never been in holding everything together alone, but in recognizing, with rare humility, that no root grows deep without surrounding soil to support it. Asmodel holding the structure, Haniel guarding the beauty of the moment, Sashiel making room for abundance. The three walk alongside those born under this sign from the beginning, waiting with the same patience as Taurus, for the day when it will finally stop thanking from afar and will allow this protection, at last, to come closer.